What's up, nerd? My name is Soggy Leftover French Fries. You can call me Soggy, and welcome to the back of your fridge. When I started playing Magic the Gathering, almost all the players I met were either new or had previously gone on a years-long hiatus after becoming disillusioned with the game. I never really understood the reasons people gave for falling out of love with the game. Then, the 30th anniversary happened. Now I do understand, and I'm back. Well, I still don't have a play group, so I'm really just back to deck building, but the itch to express my creativity in this game is absolutely back. This time, I wanted to share my ideas with you all, and I would love any feedback or suggestions, so please feel free to let me know what you think down in the comments. One of the things that handicapped my creativity in the past was being a play it because I own it kind of gamer. I didn't really have anything against proxies, especially if you weren't trying to pub stomp every game, if you were playing CEDH, or when they don't cost $300. Cough, cough. But I just liked playing the cards I had. Coming back to this game with an attitude that I can build with any card in the game has brought out so many ideas that I wouldn't have had before. On top of that, I don't feel pressured to include good cards just because I have them. I do still have some decks from this time, but today I'm going to start this deck building journey with a new favorite. Let me introduce you to the Group Hug deck that can win the game on turn 3. Let's start off with a Group Hug shell, led by one of our commanders, Ludovic, Necro Alchemist. Ludovic is, in a way, the Group Hug partner. It not only gives everyone cards, but it encourages swinging at other people to get those cards. Give people a benefit, and ask to be left alone. That is the Group Hug way. So, time to give out some goodies. We are running quite a bit of group draw, repeatable sources like Anvil of Bogarden, Font of Mythos, Howling Mine, Temple Bell, Folio of Fancies, Dictate of Kruphix, Jace Beleren, Gaia Reach Sanitarium, and Mikokoro Center of the Sea, as well as instances of card draw such as Flux, Minds Aglow, Prosperity, Vision Skeins, Windfall, and Words of Wisdom. We are also giving out gifts of mana using Victory Chimes, Spectral Searchlight, Tempting Contract, and Descent into Avernus. We're even giving out cards themselves, with Bucknard's Everfull Purse, Hithlane Rope, and Pendant of Prosperity. Then, the second part of Ludovic's ability, encouraging swinging elsewhere. We are running Crawl Space and Propaganda to prevent wide boards from getting through, Maze of Ith to nullify the Voltron player, and Curse of Opulence and Curse of Verbosity to give benefits for attacking elsewhere. Those curses bring up the most important thing to recognize when playing Group Hug. Most of the time, helping the table really means targeting one person. A lot of people are hesitant to run removal in Group Hug because they see it as mean, but 2 people will thank you every time you stop someone from winning. And even that person will understand if you also stop the next one. Just treat it as an opportunity to say, "Let me take care of that for you," as you gaslight the table into thinking you are only trying to keep everyone alive. The best removal to use to achieve this is cards that replace what they remove. That way the target doesn't feel completely at a loss. This includes An Offer You Can't Refuse, Arcane Denial, Dream Fracture, Long River's Pull, Swan Song, Chaos Warp, Pongify, and Rapid Hybridization. We are also using Evacuation, the first mode on Into the Fire, Flood of Tears, and Blasphemous Act to wipe the board if necessary. We aren't running much removal that isn't strictly replacing the target, but the cards I have chosen to include are Sink into Stupor, because it does give the card back, as well as Shatterskull Smashing, both having significant utility as modal lands, and the last two cards being Fire Prophecy and Volcanic Spite. These two cards may seem out of place, but they make it into the deck for the same reason that the few one-sided draw spells in the deck do. Amass the Components, Valakut Awakening, and the second mode on Into the Fire. These cards are primarily in the deck in case we draw our win condition. We need that to stay in the deck. But more on that later. Before we get to the explosive conclusions that this deck can produce, let's finish up the boring stuff. Our artifact ramp includes Izzet Signet and Talisman of Creativity, Fire Diamond and Sky Diamond, Wayfarer's Bauble, Misleading Signpost, Victory Chimes and Spectral Searchlight from before, and Arcane Signet and Sol Ring. I understand that some people find these cards' inclusion in every deck lame. I do not care. I like playing them, I'm going to play them. The land base can be adjusted as you see fit, but I chose to run 8 mountains, 8 islands, Command Tower, Ferris Lake, Fiery Islet, Frostboil Snarl, Izzet Boiler Works, Swiftwater Cliffs, Restless Spire, Riverglide/Lava Glide Pathway, Scalding Tarn, Storm-Carved Coast, Temple of Epiphany, Thundering Falls, Training Center, Volatile Fjord, and Forbidden Orchard, which I like to use to give a blocker to the opponent you curse with Opulence or Verbosity. So we're finally getting to the good stuff, and by this time I imagine some of you may have some questions. We only have red and blue in the deck, and there are many cards that seem almost automatic when considering cards for Group Hug that are missing here. So what's going on? The first hint I'll give you is also the first hint you'll give to your opponents. The only 2 cards involved in the combo you would ever play before the turn you win. Blacksmith's Talent and Hammer of Nazan. We're also playing Magnetic Theft, but with that card, you have the benefit of not needing it on the field beforehand. Still don't see it? Well, how about I introduce the second commander, and the inspiration for this deck. Rograk, son of Roga. When I show you this guy after telling you we are trying to cheat equipment costs, I'm sure some of you are worrying this is going to turn into a Voltron list, but stay with me. Now would be a good time for me to tell you that this is actually a rework from an old list. When Commander Legends was released, the YouTube channel Play to Win hosted a deck building contest, and I was one of the winners. They are a great CEDH channel, so if you like the competitive scene and somehow found me before them, you should absolutely check them out. Back then, I built this list in Mardu, pairing Rograk with Tymna the Weaver. I did this primarily to include Sigarda's aid, as well as having access to better removal and tutors. However, the strategy remained the same. I think I'm more suited to deck building in slower formats, and cramming this idea in a group hug shell is just more fun to me than trying to force it in CEDH. But since that was years ago, and anyone who remembers that episode is either one of the winners themselves or insane, just sit back, relax, and I will take you on a little trip to magical Christmas land. There are actually a few ways this deck can get it done on turn 3, but we'll stick to the ideal. It's turn 1. Land, Sol Ring, pass. Turn 2. Land, pass. You're not a threat, you didn't even have a play on 4 mana. Yeah, we could play Ludovic here, but you know what's in your hand, and you don't want to risk the other players getting draws. The turn comes back around. The table is tapped out. Things are quiet. It's time. You start by playing your land. You cast Rograk, drawing raised brows from around the table. Then, you cast one of my favorite cards ever printed, Transmogrify. You target Rograk, exile him, and then begin revealing cards from the top of your deck. Card by card passes and no creature is found until suddenly you put Godo, Bandit Warlord, into play. The experienced players at the table groan as you search your deck for Helm of the Host. You put it into play, and as the dopamine begins to flow, you cast Magnetic Theft. For those of you that don't know, if you have Godo equipped with Helm and you go to combat, you will create a non-legendary, hasty copy of him. You then attack with only the copy, dealing 3 damage to the target or one of their blockers. This attack will trigger an additional combat phase, and since damage stays on blockers through the turn, the only way for this not to be the end of the game is to remove Godo or the Helm, or to have an indestructible blocker. The only way this is guaranteed to work off Transmogrify, however, is to have only one creature in the entire deck. That is why the classic group hug creatures aren't included. To finish out this deck profile, we are also running every instance of cards with the Transmogrify effect, because let's face it, this deck is almost never going to be producing a win on turn 3, so the more options the better. Polymorph, which is far more well known for pulling tricks like this, but I like Transmogrify more in general because it exiles, making it better removal if using defensively. Mass Polymorph, Chaos Mutation, Chaotic Transformation, Divergent Transformations, Luca Coppercoat Outcast, Proteus Staff, and Reality Scramble. There you have it. The first deck profile on this channel, and the catalyst for my return to the game. I know that this isn't optimal, but please let me know if you have any suggestions for this build. Also, I would love to hear if any of you have a list with the goal of forcing a result of Polymorph or Transmogrify. Other than that, please like and subscribe. I'm Soggy Leftover French Fries, coming to you from the back of your fridge, reminding you to be yourself. Catch you later, everybody.